The Multimedia Ninja Podcast, episode 42. Hello again, and welcome to the Multimedia Ninja Podcast, where it's all about surviving and thriving in the digital convergence. My name is Bradford Rogers, and I'll be interviewing some multimedia ninjas who are making things happen in their respective fields and sharing tips, tools, and insights for multimedia artists and content creators. As always, you can find show notes at themultimedianinja.com. This week, Grammy-winning engineer and producer Matt Still. As you may know, in this podcast series, my friends and I will be talking about all things multimedia, including creativity, shaping your ideas, and how to be more productive doing it, regardless of what kind of content you're creating. We have got an exciting episode for you today, so what do you say we just let's get to it? All right, welcome back to another week of the Multimedia Ninja Podcast. I am tickled to announce that this week, starting last Friday at 6 a.m. actually, we are now on weekly with the video and the audio podcast. Yes, indeed. Thanks to the good offices of Mr. Sizway, a.k.a. Siz Gobashe. With minimal interference from myself, and you can go right there on themultimedianinja.com and find the latest episode. And if you want to know how to find, for example, episode 42, you just go to themultimedianinja.com/42. No padding, no nothing else. That's what this one will be up as if I'm not having a senior moment. And you can find any episode in the past by doing that. You can also search for different people like Harold Sellers or Scott Patton or whoever the heck you like to find. And we encourage you to do so. If you want to find out how to subscribe, it's really difficult. You go right there to themultimedianinja.com. And you just look for the little button that says, wait for it, subscribe. And that will, if you're on an iPhone or iTunes on your desktop or whatever, it will take you to that. If you're on an Android, it'll fix you up with that. And there's also a link on each episode where if you want to see the video on YouTube, you can go through that link to there, and it'll take you to that episode. And you can subscribe to the Multimedia Ninja YouTube channel and get each episode in video format for you people that are not working out at the gym or piloting heavy machinery or anything. Without further ado, I want to get to this week's guest because he's a killer, and he is a Grammy-winning engineer and producer. He works with some people that you may not have heard of, but we'll figure out who it is. And also, he is an all-around good guy and a multimedia ninja. He has more than a passing familiarity with easy for me to say, familiarity with DSLR video and photography. And sometimes you'll find at events that we may both have our cameras there and are just walking around snapping things, although he's way too busy to do that at this point. But let's just introduce, shall we, Mr. Matt Still. What's shaking, man?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. I'm just enjoying the latency.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll glad you could make it by, and hopefully Ginger won't be in the way too much there.
Glad to be here.
That's my long musical intro. I should have hit the E button a little bit earlier. Nonetheless, so you are not just a neighbor here, but I've been running into you for a number of years at the Recording Academy meetings. Yes. I probably need to start drinking. But to which you are now our chapter trustee.
Yes, one of two. One of the two trustees that we have here at the Atlanta chapter. Brandon Bush.
Yes. Awesome.
He's wonderful musician who's played with many, many famous people, and is a great composer in his own right. And he's a great representative for the Atlanta chapter. And
rocks a hell of a mustache.
Yes, he does.
I need to dig up a picture of that at some point, but maybe not for this episode. At any rate, so what does the trustee do for the Recording Academy?
Well, the trustee is fiscally responsible for the Academy, and there are different committees that the trustees have that just kind of the general business for the Academy on a national level versus, the local chapters, where we have, planning and governance, we have awards and nominations, we have the television committees, and so forth. So it's just more of the national business for the Recording Academy.
And for those who may have been napping that, the Recording Academy most people know it as the people that put on the Grammys, I would say.
Correct.
Which is the most visible event every year, but they also do a bunch of other cool stuff.
They do a lot of great stuff. Music Cares. To me, Music Cares and the advocacy, that right there is enough to be a member, because Music Cares helps out musicians, music professionals in need in times of crisis, financial crisis. You can reach out to them and they will help you out. And you don't even have to be a member of the Recording Academy.
Anything from getting that tooth fixed to getting into rehab or anything.
Yeah, rehab,
not that
medical,
ever happens.
Yeah. not that ever happens to musicians.
No.
Rehab, no. And the advocacy wing of the Academy is working with trying to get some legislation passed for copyright reform. There's some big controversy going on right now with the consent decrees from the Department of Justice and what's going to happen with those, and also trying to get some reform to performance royalties with terrestrial radio. Currently, they do not pay any to performers; they only pay the songwriters. And the United States is in some good company when it comes to that type of policy. There's China, Iran. Syria, and North Korea, and the United States. So we're in good company there with terrestrial radio not paying performance royalties to the artists.
It puts it in perspective a little bit.
Yeah, and given that all these other countries do collect performance royalties for artists, however, they do not pay them to the American artists because we do not reciprocate to their artists.
Gotcha.
So if you're all over the radio in Japan or Germany or England or Brazil or wherever, Australia, and they're collecting performance royalties for you, but if you're an American artist, you don't get that money because we don't pay their artists. So there's money sitting in a black box somewhere with your name on it if you're an American artist, and you can't get to it because of this current policy that says that terrestrial radio does not have to pay performance royalties. So we're working to correct that.
We need to fix it.
We need to fix that.
And yes. Oh, where's my bleep? No, we can say that.
I can say that? Okay.
I think so. Sis, make a note.
Sorry, I'll watch my mouth.
Yeah, so we jumped right into the serious.
There you go.
I should ask you to start out with, so people will be familiar. You have won a Grammy.
Yes, I have.
They may have heard with whom you won, or for whom you were working when you did the Grammy.
I won a Grammy with Outkast for the album Speaker Box Love Below. We won Album of the Year.
Sweet. Awesome. And is that sitting somewhere prominently on your desk?
Yeah, it is. Well, sitting in my studio, kind of off in the corner.
Oh, gotcha.
So, but it's there, and you can see it, and people come in and go, "Is that real?"
Yeah.
Like, yep, that's a real one.
That is very nice.
So.
And also, you worked with a little-known British gentleman who's a pianist and vocalist.
Yeah, he's a piano player from Pinner, and his name is Elton John.
Yes.
There you go.
Hit my button.
So, yeah, I've been working with Elton for about 23 years now.
Nice.
The first project that I ever worked with him on was the Duets record back in 1993, and I've been working with him ever since.
And so do you track, mix, what all?
All of the above.
Nice. I do notice you're traveling at times to go do some work. And
yeah, I do travel. Wherever he needs to record is wherever I go.
Gotcha.
So, I'm going to be coming up to going to London here pretty soon for a new project that we're starting. But I've recorded him all over.
And a side note, I think I can ask you that, or I can ask it. I think you can answer, but I think you described him as having a very sort of professional and set sort of workmanlike routine to getting these things done. Is that when he's working on stuff? Is that fair to say, or am I totally mistaken?
No. I mean, I don't want it to seem like he's very rigid in the studio,
right.
Because I mean, we have a lot of fun. We joke around a lot. He has a wicked sense of humor. But when he comes into the studio, he does get down to business. There's no messing around, and everybody who works for him or with him is at the top of their game. They're some of the best in the business. And, we come in and he'll sit down at the piano and he'll start to write a song, and he'll sit there with the lyrics that Bernie gave him. And within 30 minutes, he'll have the song written. And it's an amazing thing to watch. Yeah. And I find that the quicker he writes the song, the better the song is. He gets into a zone and he connects to something, and it's just the melody's there, and he's connected with the music in a way that's just unlike anybody else I've ever worked with. Because there are some people that I'll work with who will work on a song and it will kind of evolve over weeks and sometimes even months for the final version of this song to come around. And not that's not detracting from the quality or the validity or the artistry of the song. That's just their process. Elton is a beast all his own. And he can pump out a song very quickly. And it's an amazing thing to watch. So he'll come in, he'll write it, and then we'll just start tracking right there in the studio.
Do you have any favorite studios or consoles that you like to work with, tracking or mixing with him or anybody else?
Well, when we track, it depends. There are a lot of great studios that we've worked at. I've worked with them everywhere from Abbey Road in London to the Village in L.A. to Silent Sound here in Atlanta.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, we've heard of that one.
I may have been in there.
Yeah, and we did part of an album here in Atlanta at Tree Sound Studios as well.
Ah, yes.
And, so in Vegas, we work at the Palms.
Okay. I probably should applaud them in Abbey Road and Tree Sound too. But
there you go. Yeah. Whoops, there you go.
They're all applauded.
Yeah, but and with a console to track through, I love old Neves. Give me some 1073 mic pre's any day, and I'll be happy. Mixing, I mix in the box, so no console for me. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay.
So that's, when I first started engineering, when I was kind of, making my bones in the industry, I started out when it was an all analog world, 48 track, two 24 track machines locked together, analog 2-inch machines, big SSLs, fader for every channel, and it was all spread out onto the big console. So that's where I learned to engineer. Back in the late 80s, early 90s. And then when Pro Tools came around, I remember when it was just Sound Tools before it even became Pro Tools. And it was more just a toy back then, but then they finally went 24-bit and they kind of upped their game and better converters and a little bit more stable format, and it started to become a real option. And then I started to adopt it into our workflow. And that's my primary recording format is inside Pro Tools. Okay.
And when you're mixing in the box, do you have any outboard stuff plugged in or just digital plugins?
I do have a lot of outboard gear at my studio that I will use in my mixes, but the ultimate final mix is everything in the box. I will process things like with some of my analog compressors or EQs, and I will reprint that track as a playlist.
Okay.
So maybe I take the vocal and I run it through my TLA 100, and an API 550 EQ, and I will just create a chain, run it through that, re-record that track back into Pro Tools and create a playlist so I can get to that or go back and change my settings if I need to. But ultimately, the final mix is all internal.
Nice. Okay. I tell you learn something here every time.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we kind of hit on it before, but how did you get from where, if anywhere, did you study, and how did you get from being a kid to being where you're at now, a grown-up kid?
Yeah, I started studying classical piano at the age of 4. My older sisters were taking piano, and I would sit there and I would kind of watch them play, and then I wanted to learn, and I would hear songs, whether it be just something on the TV, like a jingle from a commercial or a song on the radio, and I'd go to the piano and I'd start to figure it out, and I would figure out melodies before I knew what the notes were, and I would do both left and right hand. Granted, it was just single notes, but a 4-year-old figuring out melodies and start to play songs, my mom was like, I need to get him into some music lessons. So I started taking lessons from the same teacher as my sisters, and about 6 months 8 months into my lessons, the teacher told her, I'll keep teaching your daughters. You need to take him somewhere else.
Okay. Gotcha.
He's moving at a pace that's unlike what many of my other students. So that's when I started studying with a man named William Knoll, who was here in town, and he was a well-known piano teacher, conductor, and just a great teacher. And I learned so much from him through the years, and I studied with him until I went off to college.
Okay.
And I started playing with bands, while I was in high school and then into college. And what got me into the studio to become a producer and engineer was with the bands that I was playing with. Whenever we would go in and do our demos, they always sounded like crap to me.
Right.
I never liked the way they turned out because they never sounded coming out of the speakers the way I heard it in my head, but I didn't know anything about engineering and production so that I could tell the engineer what I wanted him to do.
Yeah. That is not the first time we've heard that from an engineer, by the way.
So I was like, okay, I just need to learn what that dude's doing so that I can turn these knobs and push these buttons and make it sound the way I want. So I went to Georgia State University and got into their commercial music and recording program.
Nice.
Started interning at a studio immediately. And I was interning at a studio called Soundscape Studios.
Been there?
Way back in the day.
Yes.
And I interned there for a little while and then moved my way up to assistant engineer and then became chief engineer of the studio. By that time, it had been sold to Bobby Brown, and it was called Bosstown Recording. Right. Currently, the studio is still there, but it is currently owned by Outkast, and it's now called Stankonia.
Yes,
so it's had several different names through the years, but it is still there and still a fantastic studio. But so that's how I kind of got into the engineering. I initially started hanging out at the studio because I wanted to be able to record my own band, and I would take my band in there and record stuff. But then people started paying me to work on their sessions.
Right.
And it just kind of blossomed into where I am today.
So you didn't go to Berkeley or anything? Or,
I didn't go to Berkeley.
Okay.
I got, my music education from my piano teacher, and then going to Georgia State. I took, some music courses as well, but the engineering course is there also.
Oh, yes. I was asleep for a minute. You did say the commercial music school.
Yes.
My bad.
That's okay.
Oh, dear. I'll be here in a minute. Yes. Yeah. I actually recorded a demo for somebody over there for a project from the commercial music school. So I was in Soundscape. So I just kind of drifted off there for a second.
That's okay. We all do it.
It's the benefits of getting old.
Yes.
Well, cool. Well, I'm going to pivot for a second entirely and ask you about your other multimedia endeavors. We'll get back to the audio in a second, but I just saw you not too long ago. I was sitting there, I think, with Timothy P. Green or somebody, or maybe it's Bill Ramsey, but over at 57th. And I said, that looks like Matt over there, just standing near the fence. And you had a DSLR. You were doing some video there.
Yes, I was.
So you have a 5D, Canon 5D,
5D
right?
Mark III.
Yes, sir. And you do, I know I've seen you do photography, and I know you do videography. Is there, I don't even know if you still have time to do it other than just for S and G's, but is there, are you actually doing anything at the moment for anybody, or?
Well, we've done a few things through the years, and let me kind of explain how I got into that.
Sure.
My wife is an actor, and so she's been in video and film production and TV production for years. And we got it because we got the camera and the lenses because we kind of wanted to do some things for her. And she kind of put the word out that we were doing this, and then we got contacted by a few people who actually wanted to hire us to do little corporate videos for them. Like we did some stuff for Callan-Wald Fine Arts Center. We did some stuff for DeKalb Convention and Visitors Bureau, where we just kind of put together little corporate videos for them. And when you saw me that day, it was actually for the DeKalb Convention and Visitors Bureau. I was actually on a gig that day.
Yes.
Actually, getting paid to shoot and get some footage for just some promotional videos that I've done for them through the last several years. And it's I enjoy doing it, and it's a lot of fun. And so
keeping you in the multidisciplinary polymath category or something like that. So I think it was you. I mean, I've seen it elsewhere, but I think it may have been you that talked me into trying the Magic Lantern.
Yes.
Which for anybody that's not familiar is like it's not a plug-in. It's like a little.
It's like a super hack.
Yes, to the Canons.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite as well suited to my 6D as the 5D.
Okay.
It's kind of sort of, but I'm still getting used to some of the features are really cool, like the focus peaking, which gives you little pink fuzzies on whatever's in focus in the picture, which is great if you're blind like me. And then a lot of cool features. You can do like a half press to zoom and all kind of stuff. Shoot RAW.
You shoot RAW? Yeah, you can shoot in 4K on a 5D Mark III. And
have you tried that?
I have not done it yet because I just haven't tried it.
There's a reason I ask, which is for me, I don't know if I can shoot 4K, which incidentally, if you're watching on the YouTube or whatever, these little Sony cameras now shoot 4K, but we are not using that. We're just doing HD. But still, I was investigating that with the Magic Lantern and don't know if I could shoot 4K, but either on that and definitely on the shooting RAW, which I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
I believe your camera uses CF cards. Mine has a SD card.
Yeah.
And I'm learning, at least so far, even if the card were like super fantastic, I'm not sure the camera can push the data out fast enough.
It's not fast enough to do the 4K or RAW.
That's kind of a piss cutter there.
Yeah. Oh, well. See, I got into Magic Lantern because my first camera was actually a T2i.
Ah, yes.
That was the first camera that got it. And when I put the Magic Lantern on, it opened up so much. It gave so much more flexibility to the T2i. Now, the 5D Mark III already had a lot of great features to it. So it definitely opened up some new features for the 5D Mark III, but it was amazing for the T2i. So, but yeah, I have it on my camera, and I use it all the time. Nice.
And do you have a favorite lens for video or for photography, as far as focal length or...
I have an L lens. I have a Canon L 24-105. That's kind of like that's the lens that I start out with. I also have a Tokina 11-16, which is a
crazy
fantastic,
wide.
Crazy wide. But it's a great lens.
Huh.
And I've also got some primes. I've got an 85. I've got a 40, and I got a 25. And a nifty 50.
Yeah, that the one that based the 1.8.
Yeah, I got the 1.8. Yeah. That's that lens. It's only $100,
right? And
that is the best bang for the buck lens I think on the market.
I keep, I'll bring it to shoot video or photo, and it's like the least impressive looking.
It is.
It's like maybe an inch and a half long,
and it's plastic, and the focus ring is a little bit wonky, but. It looks great, and for $100, you cannot beat it.
Amen. Yeah. Cheers to the Canon 1.8.
Yeah.
And one moment. Speaking of blind, I'm just checking how we're doing there on time. Actually, I wanted to get to next week next episode.
Okay.
Whenever that might be.
Whenever.
Because we got some intern horror stories.
Uh-oh.
Possibly. We got some.
You're going to need to pull out your bleep button for that.
Yeah. We got some other advice perhaps for people trying to break in to the business, not into structures or anything. But meanwhile, if everybody will come back for that, meanwhile, we will take off for this week, and y'all please give it up in the virtual studio audience for Mr. Matt Still, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for dropping by, sir.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you on the next episode. Well, that pretty much wraps up another episode of the Multimedia Ninja Podcast. I hope you'll come back next week and bring your friends. Don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast at themultimedianinja.com. There's a subscribe button right there, and we'd love to have your feedback. If you've done any of the stuff we're talking about, think I'm way off base on any of my stupid suggestions or whatnot, please feel free to opine. We will be back next week. With next episode, which will air next week with Mr. Matt Still. And until then, do some good work, and we'll see you then.